Let's talk about reading. You're a super reader.
Now you're talking about language.
All right. Now how did you get to be a super reader?
Well, here's the deal. Been in broadcasting 54 years, and for 31 of those, I would go to schools and tell kids to read. I mean, periodically. It wasn't a mission or anything. It was just when I asked, and I didn't do that much. But every time I'd go, read, because it helps build your imagination. Well, Herb, in 2000, I'd been to Sheridan and done my usual speech. And I'm driving home, I'm feeling good, I made them laugh, blah, 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 blah. But a voice in my head said, you're not reading. You're telling kids to read, but you don't read. And that voice was absolutely correct. So beginning the next day, first thing in the morning, I read 30 minutes. And then 2 years later, and I felt good because the first year I read 18 books. The second year I read 21 books. The third year of keeping this up, I went to another school event at Oak Grove High School where they were having, you'll love this, a millionaire's picnic.
Wow.
A millionaire's picnic. And the reason they called it that, it was a challenge to all the high school students to read 25 books. If a high school student reads 25 books, they've read 1 million words. So they called the event the Millionaire's Picnic. Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah.
And I'm driving home again, and the voice says, let's see, 25 books. Hey, stud, you have not read 25 books yet, even though you are a reformed, born-again reader.
Yeah.
So from that point on, I've read about 200 pages a week, Monday through Friday, because you have a job, you don't read as much, but I still read first thing.
Right.
Weekends, I read 50 pages Saturday, 50 pages Sunday. It's 200 pages a week. And since that time, I've averaged about 40 books a year.
Wow.
So yes, in answer to that, with that long rambling explanation, I'm a born-again reader.
Wow.
And in 2018, I've been doing all these galas and I emceed stuff and fundraisers, and I went, I'm just going to concentrate on children's literacy. And that's what led to that.
Oh, okay.
I remember the scripture in the Bible saying, honor your father and your mother.
That's what
And
led
I
to
took that more than to bring honor to them than just to obey them. So I just thought, well, I'm going to do something for my daddy. And so I had the idea to have
That was
this
her
little
motivation.
program.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, we'll just start this, and hopefully, if it does well in our county, then maybe it might go over 2 or 3 counties over. But it did so well in our little area that the governor at that time of Tennessee, Phil Bredesen, he got hold of it, and he said, this is a great program. Why don't we just go statewide with this? And so we did, and then it just started going into Canada.
I'm listening to her like I'm listening to you.
All over the world, we're proud of it. But my daddy got to live long enough to see it really doing well, and he got such a kick out of hearing the kids call me the book lady. So I felt so proud, to do something with and for my dad. He was a great guy and did a wonderful job.
Now, do you go out to different counties now, or what do you do?
Yes, all
It
over.
means a lot to
All
me for
over.
many
And
reasons.
just,
Certainly
this is
once
such a
again,
timely
to get
podcast with
books
you,
in the
because I've
hands
just
of
recently
children.
had a conversation with the Arkansas people of the Dolly Parton Imagination Library, and we're going to set up a tour. It takes us to every county eventually. It's not, you can't do it in a year because there are 75 counties, but, and by the way,
Well, it hit me early on because I thought,
this is so interesting. She came because when we hit, representative of the Dolly Parton Imagination Library in every county and made that achievement, Dolly Parton said, I'm going to go down and see Arkansas. And so when she came, they wanted the super reader to interview the super Dolly.
All right.
And this was one of the people asked me, they said, who's your favorite person to interview?
You might always want to. So I just
Peter.
knew that if I
Yeah.
got
And it came at the very end of my
most
TV
impressionable years
Okay.
career,
to
just
learn
year and a half
that
before
that
I
would be
retired.
something
Yeah, I
that
saw
I could take
somebody,
pride in,
and
it
I
was
thought,
something
that
great
would
to
be,
do for the little
it
kids
would be
as they
great.
start to develop.
But
seeing their
get
little
this,
name
In
on
July,
board, coming in the mail. Remember?
in
when we
July,
first
Arkansas
started
will
getting
hit the
something in
5
the mail
million
box, how
mark,
long that
meaning
was. So I knew
since
that
Dolly
it
Parton's
would
inception in
intrigue them
Arkansas,
and impress them
5
enough to
million
grab
books have
somebody
been
to sit
mailed
down
Yeah.
and
to
read with
children
them. So it was
birth
just a
to
lot
5
of
years
thinking
of
like
age.
that I thought it was.
Isn't that remarkable?
Yeah, we're gonna let you can go to that on YouTube and watch that. It's about a 16-minute clip, but it's
And she's remarkable because the whole world loves. You talk about a unifier.
yeah,
Everybody loves Dolly Parton. Left, right, old, young. Even
Yeah.
my grandchildren who were in high school and second year of college love Dolly Parton.
I know my wife and her are about the same age, so she's always amazed to see her out with high heels. It's just how she does and what she does, and it just pretty well, and what she's still doing. And that's it's always amazing to see that and how she continues to.
And here's the thing. You're talking about bringing people together and this being an encouraging podcast. This is a beautiful thing about our age group.
Yeah.
We recognize it. We who are boomers, I don't know if you're a boomer. Are
I'm
you
a little bit
boomer?
lower.
You're at the very beginning of the boomer.
Yeah, 44. Yeah,
We
yeah.
boomers recognize the value of what Dolly is preaching, and Dolly herself is a boomer,
Yeah,
I think, yeah. She's over 80, but nonetheless, like us, the older generation knows the value of slow thinking.
right.
Slow thinking, which you get when you have a book in your hands, and that's the whole universe, is just that book. And you read and digest and think and reason rather than react.
Yeah,
And we know that's how valuable that is.
oh, it's amazing. I was looking at the Chosen, which it's been a really great video, but yeah, it's amazing when people read like the Bible or whatever, and how they visualize and things, and in any book, and it's different than what maybe a producer director has put together, and so people have certain thoughts about when you see certain things, but if you go back to the book, then you can have your own
Take
thought.
on it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, and I think that's what's important about reading. Again, I get back to my grandkids, and I think they've done well because that's what they did. They read a lot, and I know with me, sometimes I didn't read as much, but when I got to college, I was in arts and sciences, and you were having to read a lot.
Yes,
So
sir.
that was part of it. So you got challenged, but you also got an opportunity to do things that you probably should have done earlier, but then you got into that mode. And so it's always
It makes such a difference.
Yeah.
The world today just overreacts to everything. But if you're a reader, you don't, because you understand. And you are contented. And that is another treasure that we baby boomers fortunately can enjoy now, most of us these days. We are contented. Even facing physical challenges,
right.
there is a level of contentment.
Yeah, I think that's the important part, and that's part of the communications with what I'm doing is, I was reading, somebody,
Whoops.
I'm gonna knock my piranha off here, and he won't be happy. I don't know why, but I was kind of going through my list of things that what I've been going through, and it's it's not as big a deal as it might sound, but sometimes I forget that, the Parkinson's. I've had a pacemaker, of course, that's separate.
Wow.
AFib.
What do you get the man that's had everything?
Well, that's what I joke about. You go. That's the thrill of going to the doctor. They tell you you're in the early stages of something new, and so you just kind of deal with it. But I had a diabetic neuropathy, and that's the thing with your feet. And that
Yeah.
the spinal cord stimulator. That's why the picture was on the
You're the
magazine.
$6 million man.
Well, I'm getting a lot of different things, but the thing is that a lot of people have a lot bigger issues. But what I'm trying to communicate there is that just try to do what you can and look for things and opportunities, and that's the idea that I was kind of trying to put together with what I'm doing is trying to get people to aware that there's a lot of things out there that you can take one or two and you can slow you down, but you just need to go ahead and do what you can do.
I think the key word you just said is looking.
Yeah.
You are looking for ways to keep moving forward
Right.
and to become enlightened. And I love that.
Well, I think that's part of being when you've been in technology, you've always thought
Yeah.
there's always something there, and
Here I am talking
Yeah.
about reading, but yes, technology would teach you to always look
yeah,
for a way to progress.
and like we were talking about artificial intelligence, you try to look at the positives, and you get bombarded with all the negatives. So you kind of have to look through that and
a
think
lot of
about it.
fear associated
Yeah,
with
right.
AI these days, but
Yeah, yeah.
nonetheless, it does. I can see where technology would train you to look for ways to progress, and when you suddenly are faced with with a list of things that you've got to contend with physically, just looking for ways to progress, I think that's remarkable.
So I want to find out what your happy place is, and what do you think of when somebody asks that question? Because I usually put that out there, and some people think of a thing or think of a place, and it could be a combination. But what do you think about looking for your happy place?
I think that's a great name for this podcast, and I think that's what, you and I were talking about, how you meet people and who you've never met before and get to know them just on a spur of a moment. I think that's a great question. It comes later in the conversation, but what's your happy place?
Yeah,
For me, it's an easy chair and a book.
Right.
Just that simple.
Yeah.
And if you want locations, it's Wordsworth in the Heights, a bookstore, independent bookstore in the Heights,
Oh, yeah.
and Barnes and Noble, and any other bookstore, and one more. I'll share one more: a library and a school.
Okay. Yeah.
Those are my happy places.
Right. Well, that's great. And I'm going to get into this thing with this book, and I want you to read a book that we had out. I want to ask you a little bit more about the transition. You were in kind of not the a legitimate part of news, and you made that transition over into the more of the. How did that feel when you made? Was the acceptance pretty tough to be?
You mean to go from a DJ to news?
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
You went to sports and then news.
Oh yeah. Well, I went DJ, who was known for pranks, into sports, known for being goofy in sports, into news. And that was a tough one. Not so much for me, but for the viewer. Because we had these personifications of Craig O'Neill. And it took a while, but I think toward the end of my news career, maybe people began to accept it. I may hold the record, though, for the world's longest imposter syndrome, because I had it for 24 years in television. As a DJ, I'd made fun of TV, and then there I was in it. And as a DJ, I made fun of TV newscasters, and there I was in it. So I had a little bit of an imposter syndrome. It was a transition that was tough to make, especially for viewers.
I saw something up close, and it was in the cable business, but it was Ted Turner, and he had his satellite station. All they did was make fun of news, and they had these little clips on there if you ever watched it. And then he was, the founder, with CNN to start that and be accepted as being someone that brings out a cable news network that's 24/7, and we know that that's spun into a lot more different things from that, but still, it's where you can pick up and watch something and catch news. But I was looking back on Ted Turner, because I've seen him and met him and been at cable shows, and he's not in very good health now, and he's got this Louis. It's kind of like Parkinson's, but the one that Lewy body dementia, they call it, and Robin Williams, that's when he committed suicide from it. I think I saw where Ted Turner is 85, and I thought, it's kind of funny how some people have made the transition, but it's pretty tough to do that, to go from maybe illegitimate news to
Consider this, Herb, I was in news from 2008 to 2024. I did it for 16 years.
Yeah.
And worked on it every day.
Yeah.
The guy that used to be fake asking you to believe what I'm reading. Go figure.
Yeah. Well, they have to see your heart, or see you and know you at that point, and that's
exactly
what you had to have. So
exactly.
So they saw that, and that's what
things like this.
Yeah, that brought it on, and that's why that was important, and that's the thing I wanted to make sure that everybody understood on that part. But I thought that was an interesting part, and it, I had one of the news things, and we'll get on over to reading the book here. But when you're in the news, and I talk about this, is have you ever had the Pogo complex, or the thing that you come across and you say, you come across something and you find out, well, the enemy is us. It's not, you might be reporting something and all of a sudden you find out maybe you didn't do your job, or you don't feel like you did, and it may be because that's the way things have gone. I was kind of laughing, and I've done a little bit, and this is more a serious thing, but I watched the thing on the mining thing with the Bitcoin mining,
Right.
and I had a funny thing with our coffee club, and because I knew enough about it that I knew more than what everybody else knew about at the time, that all these problems are going to come up. But then you get now, and you start watching what they're doing, and it's like putting toothpaste back in the tube.
Exactly.
And it's so difficult. And then you say, well, did the news people let us down?
Yeah.
They're not really, it was a fast thing that was done.
Nobody locally called their hand on it.
Yeah.
And now, like you say, the toothpaste is trying to come back in the tube. But yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know if you felt like that very often, or just rarely, or how did you kind of feel about?
Well, understand that in a TV news environment, especially one with limited resources, the issue is getting stories on, shot, edited, produced, and on that day for the newscast. Point being that in local television news, the investigative part, where you would find out, they're going to do Bitcoin mining in Southeast Arkansas. Wait a minute. Are there problems associated with Bitcoin? Why is Bitcoin mining so problematic in so many other places, and yet here in Southeast Arkansas, they're welcoming them with open arms? Let's do an investigation of that. Well, in local TV news, with this constant need to hit that mark,
Yeah.
you don't have time to do
I know.
that, to make the calls, to arrange the interviews. And that's not a good defense. It's really not a good defense. It's not a valid one, but it's the only one I've got to offer. So that's my long-winded way of saying you're exactly right. The local newspaper possibly included, dropped the ball and did not look into that when it started. And now we're down the road where the legislature is backtracking now. They're having to check it.
It's hard to out think the Chinese, and they know that that's one of the bad actors, and I knew that. I found out who owned one of the, and now they figure out ways to get around things like that. I mean, it's just interesting.
Right now, it's like the SEC official after a questionable play, and the SEC official comes over and goes, "After further review, there'll be no Bitcoin mining." I guess. I don't know what the latest headline is.
I don't know. They're working on it. Well, I think what I want to do now is I do have this book that my friend had written. And I wanted to kind of get that you could read that, and really what the point there is that she has some other books that's coming out. But I think
cool.
It's she called it the African Animal Rabbit. It's something she did in her second grade class, and her name is Helen McAllister.
And Helen's going to have some instant validity for being a second grade teacher. She's going to know.
That's what I said when I was interviewed. I got a little interview, and I may clip that on this when I get through editing. I think it's important to show her and what she said. But,
right.
This is her notes, and you could kind of. It might be good that you read that and just read the book. It's pretty simple, but it could be added with sounds and things that later. But I think from this point on, it might be a good thing for you to read.
Oh.
And if you can read it.
Starting here,
if you like. I think.
Wow. For 42 years, I fought listen to me. Should have brought my glasses.
Well.
Back up. Take two.
We get it.
Whoops. Take two. Okay, now.
All right, Helen. When we were going to Little Rock, the thing I remember that I think was crocheting or knitting, I don't know the difference. So what were you doing? You were doing something there. What do you like to do?
Oh, I like arts and crafts. I like to paint and crochet and
Crochet is what I was thinking
Yeah.
about there.
yeah.
Yeah, and you commented on the fact that you had been on the board, Children's Hospital Board in Little Rock for 6 years, I believe, and then
Yes.
then you've been active in a lot in local charities. I know our group here went over and did the drum fight. It was kind of interesting because there was two men in the group at a women's organization, and I kind of laughed about that. But we had a lot of fun with it, and the people there treated us very well. And I thought it's kind of unusual, but a very exciting time. But you know, when you're down here, I had you kind of be active in all the things we did. But I also found that your husband had been a club pro PGA, and your son currently is a club pro in PGA. And of course, during that time, the PGA had a club pro that had a hole in one, and there's a lot of news about that. But really, what I wanted to mighty mention here today is your children's book. You've written children's book, and tell us a little bit about what your most recent children's book is about.
The one I'm working on now is about Parkinson's disease, and it's for children, and it tells about Parkinson's, and it talks about rock steady boxing and how that helps with the Parkinson's. And it really talks about how to treat people with Parkinson's or disabilities. That the moral of the story is that you need to be a friend and to listen and to be there for them.
Yeah, one thing I thought was important is that your history, and I didn't mention there, as a second grade teacher, and you were up in Maine and also in Florida, I believe. And the years you put in there, and I think that's a different perspective too, as being a teacher and dealing with children of all backgrounds.
Yes, and I taught in Arkansas for a while too.
Okay, well that's a good background. So I wanted to bring that out. How long have you had Parkinson's?
Well, I think I've had it. I was diagnosed in 2017, but I've had tremors since about 2007.
And as far as limiting, what has it done for you?
When I was teaching, my handwriting got terrible, and that's not good for a second grade teacher. And mostly my balance has been affected.
Well, I just wanted to get a brief introduction here because we'll do a more thorough one later. But I think it's great to hear your background and what you've done and what you're currently doing. So thanks a lot for the interview.
You're welcome.
After the edit, for 42 years, I taught elementary school in Maine, Florida, and Arkansas. That even adds to her validity.
Oh
doesn't it?
yeah, she's got a broad. Yeah.
Wow. The last 10 years, I was a second grade teacher in Burnham and Pittsfield, Maine. During that time, I taught an African unit every year. For the culminating activity, my class would act out the African animal rap for parents, friends, and family. Oh, this is good. I am now retired and live in Harrison, Arkansas. All of the ways animals say hello that are mentioned in this book were researched and are true to life. I have also included some activities that a parent or teacher could do with their child or students. I hope you enjoy reading about how African animals say hello. This is fascinating.
All right.
So she's coming from an area of expertise, right?
Yeah, right. That's important. Yeah.
Keep going.
Keep going. Oh yeah, you can read the book. It's not very hard. Yeah.
This book is dedicated to Anne Graffley for all her help. No, it's Graffy. To Anne Graffley for all her help with the proofing. Wish I had help with the proofing. This is the African rap, the animal rap, the African animal rap. When you read this, you will know how some people, take two. This is the African rap, the animal rap, the African animal rap. When you read this, you will know how some animals say hello. Say hello. Love it. Monkeys swing from tree to tree. They're as happy as can be. When they gather to play, they like to hug, kiss, and sway. Hug, kiss, and sway.
Wow.
When elephants say hello as they meet at the water hole, together they wrap their trunks until their tusks clunk. Until their tusks clunk. Camels live on a desert land, which is covered by sand. When they meet, they say, blow, blow, blow. That is how camels say hello. Say hello. Blow, blow, blow. I think that's how camels go.
Sounds it.
Zebras have lots of stripes. They really like to hide. When they meet, they like to sniff one another's side. Sniff each other's side. Not recommended for human beings.
No.
There's a better way. When two tawny lions meet, this is how they like to greet. They rub their heads together, and then they lick. Rub and lick. Rub and lick. No wonder they're growling. Macaws are very pretty birds. They can often be heard giving each other a greeting by squawking and screaming. Squawking! Ah! And screaming. Great book. Giraffes eat leaves from the trees. They eat mimosas too. They press their necks together to say, howdy-do. Say, howdy-do. For those of you interested, they are necking. Okay. Crocodiles are very shy. They live near the water, not where it's too dry. When they get to say hello, they give a big bellow. Give a big bellow. The kids love this. This is brilliant. This is absolutely brilliant. This was the African rap, the animal rap, the African animal rap. Now that you have read this, you do know how some animals say hello. Say hello. That is brilliant.
All right.
That's backwards, but that is brilliant. Helen is brilliant.
Yeah, she is great.
I want you to notice how simple that was.
Yeah.
How it's something that they all do.
Yeah.
Even though these are animals, children say hello or are expected to. They interact with one another. This is about interaction. And please note something very important. And she's right on. She repeats it. At the very end, she repeats it.
Right.
She'll say, like the lions, and then they lick. Rub and lick. Rub and lick.
Yeah. Well, so second
Nobel.
Second grade
Pulitzer. Right there, baby. That's brilliant.
All right. So I'm
I noticed you got 2 copies.
Yeah, you want a copy? Take your copy with you.
I mean, I'm doing this for free,
I know.
and I collect these.
Yeah.
And by the way, for the record, you just saw me in my happy place.
All right. That's great. Can't beat that. That's a good rap.
That's it.
Okay, thanks.